They're just adding to our ranks. They're
Miller Lite,
just
right?
giving us more. Sorry, I keep accidentally talking over the Jew. It's my inner anti-Semitism flaring up. I apologize. The audio's really low.
I'm used to it.
Jack.
It's because I'm jealous of the beard, so I'm just insecurely, reflexively trying to be louder than the beard.
Now, I am curious, Anthony, as a Jew, you also could suffer from white privilege, and with the beard, you could suffer from toxic masculinity potentially. How do you square these oppression versus privilege? I don't know, views. How do they work together in your life?
It's probably why I have Asperger's. I just don't give a shit. Yeah,
You're like the
I,
Ouroboros of boots, like stomping on yourself and
oh yeah,
stomping on others
oh
simultaneously.
yeah. Oh, yeah. It doesn't matter what social clique I'm within. I'm always the racial oddity,
Yeah.
and it's just a part of it. It's just a part of it. Now, if I choose to, I can just not tell anyone I'm a Jew.
Yeah.
And as far as I know, I'm some white guy from Ohio, and that's all they treat me as. But no, it's part of the life.
Well, that's a good segue into how do you feel about Nick Cannon and his controversial comments on anti-Semitism?
Is he a white supremacist? He looks like one.
He's not. He's not actually. Are either of you familiar with Nick Cannon's controversy on anti-Semitism that happened over a year ago?
Don't even know who it was.
No,
No.
no, I didn't know about
Interesting.
this one.
Interesting.
Go
that
on.
Nobody heard about that.
Nope.
But let's watch. If it plays.
Introducing Captain Plugins
No!
Epic. 5
Boo!
powerful plugins
No,
designed
how do
to
I
help
make
you
it
create
stop?
unique chords, melodies,
Boo.
drums, and
Stop.
plugins.
All right.
Then let's
Does
go.
he have a
Let's
paid
let's go to what
subscription?
the lack that they have of it.
No,
so then when
I do not
see
have a paid subscription to the Sun or the U.S. Sun or whatever this is.
what Dr. Francis C. Welsing talked about is that fear and that
Just genetic
that
annihilation.
deficiency of when you have a person that has the lack of pigment, the lack of melanin,
Right.
that they know that they will be annihilated. So therefore, however they got the power, they have the lack of compassion. That melanin comes with compassion. Melanin comes with soul. That we call it soul. We soul brothers and sisters. That's the melanin that connects us. So
Right.
the people that don't have it are a little, and I'm gonna say this carefully.
I think it's too late for that.
A little less, and where the term actually comes from, because I'm bringing it all the way back around.
Okay.
To
I'm going to say this
America,
carefully.
to
White
where
people are
they
lesser
may
humans
not
than
have
black
the
people.
compassion, or
Just say that delicately.
when they were sent to the mountains of Caucasus, when they didn't have the power of the sun, that the sun then started to deteriorate them. So then they're
Oh, it
acting
deteriorates me. I'm
out
not gonna lie.
of fear. They're acting out of low self-esteem. They're acting out
Check.
of a deficiency. So therefore,
Check.
Don't really
the
call
only way
that.
that they can act is evil. The only way they
The
can
only way
have
they
to
can
rob,
act is
steal,
evil.
rape, kill, and
Fight or
pillage.
flight,
And-
okay.
or-
So,
It's obvious. I'm convinced.
yeah.
100%.
Now, he did get fired from his job on NBC after this.
No.
It's very interesting, though, because he got fired for his anti-Semitic remarks. Because this is
we
actually...
own the media, so that's natural.
Right. This guy, he's like in this clip, he's just saying white, or lack of pigment, lack of melanin that makes you evil. But the broader context is that this was also about white Jews, basically, and he got canceled for it. But they never talk about like how it's just a general anti-white racism that he's talking about here. The Jew thing came up at one point, and he made the same talk points as Kanye West, that blacks are the real Jews. Anthony, do you got any thoughts on blacks being the real Jews? Because I don't have a dog in this fight, but you might. Oh, I lost you. I don't have audio. Oh, there you are.
There it is. You're talking about the
Black
There's a couple
Hebrew
different-
Israelites or whatever.
well, there's two different versions of where the whole Black Hebrew thing comes from. There are those who believe that the ancient Hebrews in Israel, Egypt, were actually black themselves, and that those of us of lighter color were essentially fake Jews who somewhere in the 800s in Europe decided to declare ourselves to be Jews, just to be different. Then there's the other theory of the Ethiopian Jews, where they are descendants of Levite priests who took the Ark of the Covenant down to Ethiopia, and where it exists to this day, and that they are by blood related to me. So when I hear a black man referring to themselves as a Jew, I often ask myself, okay, are you the type who believes that I am the fake Jew?
Right.
Or are you the type who believes I am descendant of the Jews through Ethiopia? And I'll usually ask them, are you Ethiopian? Or are you, I forget what term they call themselves, but it's muddied water amongst the Jewish people. It's something we don't like to talk about just because it's so racially charged. And
Yes. That's why you're here.
I know that's why. That's no, I can get away with it. You two, you'd be sent off to cancel jail.
I mean, frankly, I don't have a dog in this fight. I don't really care. I think it's fascinating conversation, and I'm not a Jew, so I'm not offended by either of you saying that you're the real Jew. So I'm genuinely curious as to like people's opinions on it. Like if Nick Cannon has some historical understanding that I don't understand, fine. Like even if he was saying, white people in general are inferior because of lack of pigment, I'm like, tell me more. I'm fascinated by your theory. I can heavily disagree with you and wonder why you're not as nearly as canceled as Kanye West is being right now. But reading through the rest of this article, it talks about his cancellation, which pretty much nobody heard about. Like I barely heard about it. You guys didn't hear about it. It only says that he got fired for anti-Semitic remarks. So a lot of the issue with Kanye West, and like Kanye isn't, to my understanding, isn't even bringing up skin color or ethnicity or anything. He's bringing up these people are in a lot of positions of power, and they are making my life harder. And that's kind of all that he's... Again, I haven't watched he's done a bunch of interviews lately, and I haven't watched most of them. But to my understanding, he's mostly just talking about, hey, you guys are pretending to be oppressed, and he makes the statement that they're running the banks, and then the next day he gets canceled from his bank. And then he makes the statement that they're running social media. The next day he's kicked off of social media. It's like, I'm not saying that they're running it. I'm saying if you don't want people to think you're running it, stop kicking them off all the platforms that he just talked about you running.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. It's interesting how that nuance of like, he's saying comments against generally white people, and yet it's almost like for the cancel machine, the woke machine to operate, they can't just say he was canceled for talking about white people, because that's hot right now. They want everyone to talk about how much white people. But so they have to say, oh, it's the Jews he's talking about in order to make it now like, oh, this is the protected class. These are one of the victim classes. So therefore, through that, we can now cancel them. Now, I don't know what their motive was for canceling it, if there's other reasons or whatever. But just that, in order for you to be canceled for criticizing a white thing, it has to specifically be Jews for it to get the sympathy.
I haven't followed a lot of what Kanye has said, but what little tidbits I did see, I actually agreed with what he said.
At the very least, it's at the very least, from what I've heard, it's way less offensive than what Nick Cannon said. Nick Cannon was talking about lesser humans and greater humans.
Exactly. Kanye specifically said you should visit the Museum of Our Holocaust, which is Planned Parenthood. And I said, well, that's 100%.
Oh, nice.
Absolutely 100% correct right there. It's true.
Fuck yeah, dude.
I mean...
But no.
Yeah.
We'll get more into... Let's listen to what Kanye had to say.
Yeah. Okay. And that one's easier to prove. Yeah.
I actually don't have a bunch pulled up on what Kanye had to say because I don't care that much. All I like it, even if he's shut up. It's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about the Antichrist that we haven't even gotten to. It's gonna get worse. Don't worry, you guys. No. With the Kanye thing, to my understanding, it's primarily just he wore the White Lives Matter thing. They got all bitchy about that, and then like the next day he posts about the Jewish stuff. and he's been
I'm
standing by.
confused. The last guy said that I'm a white life. So are Jews part of the white lives, or are we part of the black lives? I don't.
It's so hard to tell anymore.
Exactly.
What if he
Now
just-
You sneaky people and
Frustration.
your ability to weave in and out where it's convenient. Ugh. That's why nobody
What
likes
if he
you.
just
No.
came out with this? What if next time he comes out with a jacket, it just says, "Jewish elites don't matter"?
Exactly. There you go. That's the key word. That's the key word is elite.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah, I guess.
one thing my rabbi tells us constantly is there's two types of Jews in the world. There are Jews of faith, and then there are Jews of convenience.
Hmm.
And when it comes to
And some of them
somebody
run
saying-
the country Israel, and some of them
they're the ones of
don't.
convenience. They're the ones of convenience. They're not really religious Jews. They're there as Jews just so that if you say anything bad about them, they can say it's racially charged and that you're racist and anti-Semitic.
Yep. So how do you feel about the nation state of Israel right now?
I am not a Zionist, and you know that.
Ooh. Yeah, but I
Yeah.
I can't put those words in your mouth. They have to come out of
I
them.
know you can. Absolutely. I'm 100% against Israel, and as far as my research into the Kabbalah and what I know through our texts, those who are in charge of Zionism are essentially trying to forcefully bring about the Messiah by trying to rebuild the temple. And that is something I just completely disagree with. There's no
Good, because that's
better
what we're
way-
talking about next.
There's no better way to piss off our God than to try and force his hand, especially when it comes to bringing about prophecy.
I like it.
Yep.
I like it.
Yep.
So
Based. Love it.
So before we move on from this, because the next topic isn't even really about this conspiracy realm so much. It's a completely different conspiracy realm on the Jewish stuff. But what are your thoughts on, like, the Jewish conspiracy stuff is basically, to my understanding, based primarily on an overrepresentation of this culture and these people in things like the media and stuff like that. Like, the capitalist in me is like, good on you. You guys really bounce back. No shame there. But do you think there's anything to the things like what Kanye's saying with these people running the media and like being corrupt and that type of thing?
It's when it comes to Jewish people being in positions of power, specifically positions of power that are brought about financially, not through elections, not through political means. It's because we, as a Jewish people, have stronger family values. We work together as a family far more often than other people do. We're more akin to Amish in that we build familial wealth over personal wealth. And so the fact that Jews are typically always the wealthy isn't because we're not individually wealthy, it's because we as family units become wealthy. And that's because we are more focused on our community and our people than we are in the individual. And that's just the way any minority culture is.
So by focusing on family, that's what got them in charge of Hollywood and the entertainment
And now
business
now
and
it's
the
at
media
point where-
and the
and
schools.
Post-Zionism has brought back the individual into Judaism. And so these people are in positions of power, and they are of a specific age where they basically said, well, screw the rest of the family. They took all the wealth, they've gotten into their power, and now you see the Jewish elite as they are today.
Nice. So by Jewish elite, you just mean people who identify, sure, right, not religious Jews.
No, Jews of convenience.
Gotcha. Oh, the chats are awfully quiet today. I don't know what the deal is, you guys. Get in here. I don't know what you're scared of. We're not talking about anything uncomfortable. No, we're going to move on to, you brought up the Messiah. So in the Jewish faith, you believe that Jesus Christ was not the Messiah, which is, so you guys just like killed him or something. I mean, this is just my basic understanding.
No. Dude, you had to be there. Barabbas.
You had to be there.
You had to be there.
He was just such a smooth talker. You think Donald Trump was smooth? Barabbas was like way up here.
Nice.
They're like, dude, he murdered a bunch of people, but you know what? We like that guy.
Yeah.
Let's not crucify him. Crucify that carpenter, dude. He, like,
Carpenter that
fucked up
keeps
a
healing
bunch of
people.
Yeah, what the hell? Putting the doctors out of business.
Trust the science. Don't trust it. Don't trust this. Like it's like COVID. Like don't trust these guys that are healing people on the side
Jesus
with
was
their.
the ivermectin of.
This dude's out here. He's like, you can get into the kingdom of God, and it costs you nothing. Hey, no.
What a waste of money.
Around that. Yeah.
That's right. So Anthony, you believe like, and I don't have like this like vast understanding of the Jewish faith by any stretch. What do you think Jesus was? Do you think that he was just a crazy guy?
He was a prophet. He
Okay.
was a prophet. When you get into it, a lot of what he taught is true to the progression of teachings amongst prophets throughout Judaic history. But the issue becomes how much of his role in God's kingdom was actually spun by the Catholic Church and the papacy. So, yeah, did the Roman Catholic Church basically take a prophet and turn him into a Messiah? Because you go through everything that we have, and historically, every single text surrounding Jesus has been touched at one point or another by Catholic hands in either translating it or cataloging it. So
I've taken big issue with that myself.
Can we truly trust what's written in those texts? I mean, apparently Christopher Columbus was a big rapist, but I never read that in my social studies book.
Yeah. No, I don't disagree with you. I like, in my opinion, taking any spiritual text at face value without further thought or digging or understanding is just kind of stupid and lazy, whether it be Jewish or Christian. But so do you think that they spun it to the extent that, like, do you think that he wasn't performing miracles? Do you think that he wasn't saying that he was the Son of God?
No. Moses split the Red Sea. He turned a staff into a snake. Prophets throughout history have always performed miracles. So you can't tell me, well, Jesus cured disease. He gave a blind man sight. He raised Lazarus from the dead. Okay, there are a lot of prophets who had very similar miracles throughout their history as well.
Mm-hmm.
But it comes down to where they say, well, they asked him, are you the Son of God? And he said, I am. I said, well, the Roman Bible said that's what he said.
Right.
And there's been some rabbis I've heard who have broken down that the way he replied to that question in the Aramaic, when he said, I am, it was, are you Son of God, was referring to, are you a Jew? And so he said, I am a Jew. He didn't necessarily say, I am Son of God.
Motherfucker.
So
got me on a technicality. Now we got this whole country fucked up.
Exactly. But there's so many
I love
different
this, though,
ways you
'cause-
can translate everything. And so it's up to what you believe, and that's the core of religion.
Yeah. Go ahead, Jack.
Yeah, I was gonna say, people know necessarily about me. I've talked a little bit about it with you guys or with Dan before, but I quietly spent years. I grew up atheist, and I quietly spent years researching a lot of the same stuff you're talking about, right? Like breaking down where do these texts come from, when or how are they changed or translated, all these things, both Old Testament and New. I did a very like years long deep dive research, and came with similar conclusions about how much you can pull different things and come to different conclusions based on where you go with it. I had more solid opinions on some of that a few years ago, and then as I went down more conspiracy rabbit holes,
before this conversation.
but now I'm questioning everything. The beard's throwing me off. I'm like, holy shit.
He seems real wise and trustworthy. I don't know.
Yeah,
that's how they get you.
Exactly. This guy might be probably no, but as Dan knows, and I've said before on stuff, I came away with the conclusion of like, wow, there's also this like divine feminine goddess figure in all this that's also been kind of repressed and mistranslated, and this kind of like Holy Spirit wisdom character and stuff going on. And so I came away with that seeing, okay, yeah, there's a lot to dig into here that you could pull from it. And I had more solid opinions on a lot of that stuff. until, and like the historicity of these texts or these claims, whatever, and until I went far enough down conspiracy rabbit holes. Let's just say once I kicked open the flat Earth door, and I see how many deceptions are being pulled on us at these high levels, then yeah, everything has been back on the table. So now I re-examine all the religious. I'm like, everything is sus. Everything can be questioned as always, and yet I also share this desire to like pull from things. Like there's got to be enough truth and divine wisdom and love in enough of what we're reading, so that even if any of it or all of it has been altered or messed with by like nefarious powers, I feel like there's still something in there that's trying to speak to us, like almost like we can't cover up or get rid of some divine message, even
Like
if
God is bigger than any text that we're reading and
Yeah.
might be able to figure this out without our help.
yeah, and like the truth bleeds through no matter what the evil powers are doing to mess with us or turn us against each other. All that, like yeah. So it's very interesting to go down that rabbit hole too.
Yeah, and
You're talking about the feminine divine. Did you ever look into pre-Babylonian Judaic religion?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the idea of
Dan's looking confused.
no, I'm familiar. Yes.
Okay, before the Jews were taken off to Babylon, we had no written language. Hebrew itself is actually based off of Sanskrit. We learned while in Babylon, but before the sacking of Jerusalem and the taking of Jews in Jerusalem as slaves, we actually had two separate religions that believed in a divine feminine and a divine masculine, a father and a wife, a mother. And the mother was Gaia, it was Mother Earth, and this was believed by the shepherds, the people that lived out in the outskirts of society, whereas the city folk in Jerusalem believed more in the divine father, who would eventually become Yahweh, as we know him today.
Or as we pretend to.
But
Sorry.
the thing, when I try to explain it to Christians in particularly, I tell them it's very much the same as the concept of the Christian Trinity, and that it is the same divine being. It's the same essence. It's just two separate parts of that essence.
It's just monogamous instead of a three-way.
No, the third way is actually us, because we were created in their image.
like a father,
Gotcha.
mother, and child, or the idea of like a family unit.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Or
That is-
yeah.
You want me to have a relationship with three dudes and tell me that gayness is a sin? I don't know. What?
Yeah, we were laughing about this a minute. Listen, don't be
We're not
gay,
talking
but
about
I
the
need you to
shepherds.
to worship a dude right now. Yeah, you can get into all that psychological masculine, feminine, male, female stuff. Yeah, no, I definitely, I'm on team goddess. I definitely feel like there's a goddess there that has been,
All right, so trans Jesus aside, Anthony, do you think that, so in your understanding, the Messiah has not come, the Messiah will come, the people who are trying to push the Messiah to come are also not to be trusted? Is that what you're saying?
Essentially, yes.
Okay, let's talk about the Messiah then. Because there are some people in certain countries that have a lot of Jews in them that seem to think that the Messiah is here. And I'm going into this skeptical on all sides, and also open on all sides. If these people have found something that is beyond my understanding, I am open to understanding it. And as a mostly, raised Christian, mostly Christian, whatever, probably the closest, definition that makes sense. This could either be the second coming of, or the first coming, I don't know, of Christ according to the Jewish religion, or it could be the Antichrist, or it could just be some dude. But let's watch a little bit of this, and we'll have to read it because it's all in Jewish, which is a language. What is why have all the great rabbis gathered here? Why have all the rabbit? Maybe are you able to read this? Is this too small for you, Anthony? Because it might help.
I can read it just fine.
Oh, perfect. Then you read
If
it.
you stop speaking over him, I could just hear the Hebrew too.
Yeah, you can, however you want to read this, or say it, translate this for us. That'd be great.
Why have
Because
all the rabbinic leaders of our judicial system gathered together.
I'm afraid if I read it, I might like open a portal to hell or something. This might be some sort of Latin or something. I don't know. Let's put this on you.
That's demon talk. That Hebrew.
Why have all of you, the thousands of people that are loyal to Israel, what is so unique and special about this massive and holy gathering? Nice hats.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm glad you said it.
there's a part of me as a hipster that enjoys their fashion sense, but if you show up to a party and everybody's dressed the same hipster fashion, it gets a little bit, a little bit much.
I can't wear those hats. I just want to dance when I wear those hats.
Yes. Do you got the braids yet going, or the curly cues?
But I trimmed them. They got really out of hand.
Is it a sin to trim them? I don't know how this works.
It is for them.
Oh, okay. It's not for me.
They're stupid.
You sound like the Christian Jew, just like the Christian or the American Jew.
Protestant, yeah.
Yeah.
It's
The forward-thinking
called
Jew.
Reformed.
You are fast becoming my favorite Jew. This is fun.
The Jew
There's
that
Orthodox Jews and there's Reformed Jews. These are your Orthodox Jews.
the Jew that
I
mostly
would-
spends his time posting spicy memes and driving trucks around. Yes. Typical.
That's all I do all day long.
That's how you take over the world.
These are your Orthodox Jews.
Yes.
Otherwise, the people who are practicing Jews, but they don't wear the quote unquote silly hat, have the quote unquote Jew girls. We're Reformed. So you could say.
So you're the
it's more
heretics
akin
to somebody.
These are the Catholics. I'm the Protestant.
Gotcha.
That's.
Do you feel like you're even qualified to read this then as a heretic?
As a heretic?
I don't know. Is there like ostracizing like there is in Christianity, where if you don't believe the exact same thing, then you're probably bad?
Absolutely. Even amongst the Reformed community, because I'm anti-Zionist, I am not allowed to a lot of functions. I'm
Nice.
very
Wow.
blacklisted, in a lot of things I'm very blacklisted, just
Based
because I'm
Jew.
very vocal about how my disdain for Israel and everything else. So a lot of people ask, how can you be a Jew and a libertarian? Don't libertarians hate Israel? And I say, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Next question.
Event that only occurs in a few generations. Is this the completion of the entire Torah will complete comprehension? We're talking about completing the Torah. What is this?
You'll see. And filled with doubt and trepidation.
That I, in the presence of a Gaon of Israel, who is the more fact that he has existed in this world. Are they naming the Messiah?
That's where we're getting. Yep.
Okay.
Have you not heard? Did you not get the Jew newsletter? The Jews letter?
Dude, I told you. They deleted me off the news listing, They're like, hey.
Damn. So I'm reporting the Jews to a Jew. That's nice. Just so you know, Anthony, I don't know if you heard, but your Messiah is here, and that's where this is going.
Really bad time to be anti-Semite, isn't it?
Says the mere fact that he existed in this world for so long without knowing about him, we have never witnessed. It's really fast.
It's Donald Trump, isn't it?
It's not.
Trump.
It's not.
Donald Trump walks
Damn.
out. What's the fucking
It's not.
Yes,
Donald Trump walks out.
I'll be the
It's-
best Messiah you've ever seen.
Donald Trump just walks out without a spray tan, and he's like this really pale dude wearing the Jew get up, and he's got like a fake beard. He's like, "I am here to talk about your wall. It's a great wall."
No. Or he walks out in full blackface and he's like, the blacks are the real Jews and I'm their Messiah.
I know.
I didn't read the invite.
Kanye's at his side.
My
Yes.
boil says it was the biggest foreskin he ever trimmed. Okay.
The Torah declares him.
Torah declares him.
Go ahead.
Yeah. This is the Torah that emanates from deep humbleness.
Here, I'll just jump to the text. We don't need to hear them say it.
All of us together can dedicate to the Rav, the Yanuka,
The rave?
a person, Rav, the Yanuka, a person who is worthy of knowing the entire Torah, a rabbi, essentially. And even appears to be a human being. And indeed, meritorious man. This is Donald Trump. I'm telling you, meriting Torah knowledge.
Does Donald Trump have a deep knowledge of the Torah?
He has very
He would
big
tell
hands.
you he does.
He has very big hands.
How do you think his hands got so big? He was opening that text over and over, studying. He was studying up.
It was holding the reading right to left, man. It builds up this arm right here.
That's right. All right,
He
read
walks
on.
among people
Walks among people.
and appears to be a person, and indeed a meritorious man. He walks among people.
I think they're singing a song here.
I think
Yeah.
this is a chant.
Yeah, they're singing a song here.
Yeah, that's a
This
prayer.
reminds me.
But in
this
reality,
reminds me
he's
of-
an angel.
This reminds me of A Knight's Tale when like the Herald guy's like introducing Heath Ledger and he's like just spouting off like he's like he once spent a year in Greece
Yeah.
to understand the sound of a whisper or whatever like they're fucking building this up.
So do you recognize this guy, Anthony?
Oh shit!
I do not, but
So if you saw your Messiah in the flesh, you would not even recognize him?
absolutely not.
The Messiah wears glasses.
Yeah. You'd think he'd have 20/20.
You think he could heal that?
Unless those are a prop to make you feel more humble.
Oh, yes.
Like
that's
Superman, like Clark Kent, like he's
Right.
like, oh, I'm just like
probably-
you.
You don't need those glasses.
But I'm
No.
Nailed it. Nailed it.
But I could beat you up real good. Yeah.
All right, read on.
And he lives a life of living nobility and exalted above all glory. But in reality, he is an angel, living among the mortal. And he
Holy
lives
shit.
a life of living nobility. I think we're about to do another song here.
Oh, I'm sure it's still a song, but they're showing imagery of like all these rabbis kissing his hand and like praising him and everything. Like they're all about this guy that none of us have ever heard of.
We've had a couple false messiahs, false prophets throughout history, many times. So
Do you have names? Name names. Name drop. Name drop your
I
Messiah.
can think of one.
I don't.
Is it Donald Trump?
We had one of the 1200s, one of the 1600s, one of the 1800s. So only natural we have one.
Should we take bets on how long till this guy gets crucified?
So I was gonna say, you guys make fun of us for having one guy that's already came. You guys had like 20 guys that already came. Oh,
Meanwhile,
they just saw a pattern. They were like, listen, next one up, put him up. Let's keep it. Listen, that was
Jesus
a Roman
is up
sanctuary.
there,
Okay, so
he's watching this guy. It's like, these Jews are pretty cool until you don't, do the things they want you to do, and then boom,
Yeah.
that's right. They're touchy. Do not perform miracles. Say you're the Messiah. Like he doesn't say he's the Messiah. In fairness, so he should be safe. But
Nope.
he also do not come out and say that anything about blacks or Jewish media or anything like that. Either of those things off the table. Otherwise, you're fine. But so without like this is like a 17-minute long video of them praising this guy, saying everything but he is the Messiah. He's walking amongst mere mortals. He has the entire Talmud and Torah like memorized, which has never happened before for anybody. He's like 32 years old or something, and he memorized it by the age of 15 or something like that. Making a big deal about this guy whose name is I should probably say. You say what you were gonna. Oh, here it is. Yanuka Rav Shlomo Yehuda. Have you heard this very Jewish name?
That was very bad. That was very poor.
Would you like to read this very Jewish name? Because I
could
prefaced
do
by saying I'm not
the
Jewish.
Midwest as well, but the whole thing to me, it's itching my Jew bone in saying that they are basically breaking the very numero uno first commandment about putting someone before the big guy.
Oh, I thought the first one was like freedom of speech, freedom of.
Oh no! That's the other Bible.
Oh shit! My bad.
No, they're basically putting this. They're putting the pussy on a pedestal. They're putting that pussy on a pedestal.
Wow.
This base Jew just called the supposed Messiah a pussy.
Let's go ahead and switch over to your camera for the rest of this conversation.
Dude, you're.
Jew cam. Why don't you just change it down here to
I
Jew
fucking
cam?
love this guy.
Jew cam.
Jew
Right there.
cam. All right. Well, Keep talking. Keep talking. Let me change it.
I love the like, here's the Messiah. Like, that guy's a fucking.
The whole thing to me sounds like they are worshiping the guy, and so there you go. That's
Yep.
there you
Got our juke
go.
him. Yes.
The whole thing to me says they're putting, another god before him. And
Now,
you can't do that.
Sure, if the Christian religion did that as well, I would say the same thing. Like, this guy isn't to be trusted. But the question is, like, at
well.
what point?
I've been saying it forever because of the saints, but okay, go ahead.
Okay, if the Christians did that again,
This has been the fundamental. Yeah, this has been the fundamental debate between the two religions. Can a bro show up and do cool shit and be considered God?
right?
Christians say, well, he came back to life, whereas Jews are like,
Well, like,
well,
if this guy was
did he?
your Messiah, or if the Messiah did come, how would you know? If not for, like, these are the signs and wonders that we're supposed to look for. Like, I'm open-minded and also skeptical to where I'm like, hey, if he is miraculous, I'm interested. I give it all to me.
The good news is the end is near. If he's the Messiah, the bad news is it's going to come.
The end has always been near, but it seems more near than ever. But also, every boomer said that too.
The bad news is it's going to end by Israel basically dominating and taking over the entire planet.
Oh, fuck.
Because that's the one thing in the prophecy that Jesus didn't give the Jews, and that's why they weren't happy with him. He was supposed to be the King of Kings. He was supposed to dominate and take over the planet, and he didn't.
Yeah.
He tried.
So, again,
but in another way, did he?
And I'm a Jew, and I'm against Zionism because that's their end game. Total world domination.
Are they so in?
Yes.
If that is the religion, are they incorrect?
If it's, and again, it goes back to
this guy's about to become a Christian.
No, it goes back to what I was arguing.
He's like, holy
about
shit.
Christian texts. That prophecy of Jews taking over the world, is it truly what, I believe it was Isaiah that said that, or is it something that a rabbi or a priest further down the line added to what he said? Because it doesn't sound like something God would really say, is you're going to destroy the planet and take over everybody, and then the whole planet's going to be yours. No. God gave us that small little sliver of land of Israel. He didn't give us the planet.
Mm-hmm.
So I honestly don't believe in the prophecy per se, especially that portion of it, which is why Zionism, anti-Zionism within the Semitic community is so risque and so touchy of a subject.
Yeah.
Yeah, here's the irony, right? You break down all the Abrahamic religions, and they're all expecting the same thing: a apocalyptic showdown in which their guy shows up, proves they're the real one, and conquers the world. And so, whether the Jews are waiting for their Messiah to show up for the first time to do this, or Christians are waiting for their Messiah to come back
Get
after
his ass
having
back here.
shown up.
The hell, bro?
Right? It's like
any day.
Both
now.
are expecting someone to show up and be the real, will the real God please stand up? And basically, and
with atheism on the rise that it is, God will finally show up to beat down the other gods, but there won't be any other gods because no one on earth believes in a god. They're all atheists.
So you're saying aliens?
Most likely.
Nice.
Most likely aliens.
Jewish aliens or Christian aliens? It's important.
Abrahamic aliens.
Nice.
Definitely have
beards and all?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Dope.
Possibly Muslim.
Yeah. Let's just say part of the reason I published some of the books I wrote was because I recognized even in my young, imagination, certain parallels and themes, like the idea of fledgling religions being hijacked by nefarious powers to create prophecies and the conditions by which they can bring about apocalyptic scenarios and then dominate the world with the result of that. And that seems to, if that were to be something in reality, it sure would look a lot like a lot of these religions prepping for some, expecting some kind of massive, world conflict in which their hero shows up. And it's
Yeah.
interesting that they all seem to be expecting the same thing, and it's just which version, which one,
And
or
also,
maybe none of them.
Again, my question was, I'm not sure if we've answered it, but I am curious for both of you. The question is, if somebody showed up saying that they were the Messiah, performing signs and wonders and miracles and things, what would it take for you to, I mean, if you're doing that, I mean, I feel like our brains instantly go toward, you're deceptive, you're incorrect, whatever, but what would it take for you to go, oh, okay, you are the real deal? What would it take for you to accept that, what's his name? That, I'm going to nail this one this time, Yanu K. Rave Shlomo Yehuda, I think I got it, is the Messiah. What would it take? Anthony, we'll start with you.
I'm stuck on Shlomo. That was great.
Do you have a better way of pronouncing Shlomo?
Don't be
Shlomo.
Shlomophobic. Come on.
I didn't name the guy Shlomo. They named him Shlomo. Shlomophobic. Jew Cam, what do you got?
So the Jew came. For someone to truly be the Messiah and convince me that they are the Messiah, the first thing they would do is not declare themselves to be the Messiah.
This guy hasn't.
Yeah, but he's basically being worshipped in person. He's being worshipped, and he's not stopping them.
Right. He's not saying, easy. Yeah.
He's not saying, dude, you guys are breaking the first commandment here. What the fuck are you guys doing? No, he's...
But what if he is?
just sitting there and he's like,
What if he is though, and they're praising him? He's not making them praise him, and he's not saying I am the Messiah. He's just being himself, and they're praising him.
if you view Jesus as a prophet as opposed to a Messiah, the most important thing that Jesus taught the Jews was how to please God after the destruction of the temple. And that is, you no longer need to make a sacrifice. Just get down on your hands and knees and pray to God. And that's all you need to do. So for him to basically accept the praise as he is, it contradicts those teachings because...
I don't know. Jesus got some praise, yo. Jesus drew some crowds. They seemed to like him until they hated him.
Jesus also preached humility, and this guy's anything but humble from what I'm saying. Because again, they're making a big deal out of him, and he is not counteracting that in any way whatsoever. It's
Sure.
like
And we are just basing this off of like the 3 minutes that we watched of guys talking and singing songs. If that's enough for you, great.
It'd be funny if
I'm more open-minded about your own religion than you are. So, I can't be anti-Semitic, guys, because he called him a pussy right off the bat, and I'm like, hey, what if this guy is the Messiah? So I don't know.
What a plot twist. Yeah, but it'd be funny if as he's shaking people's hands, he's just whispering them, please stop.
Hey, yo,
we
calm
don't get
down.
that translation because he's not on mic, but he's like
I had a lot of free time on my hands from ages 1 to 15. I'm
I
very
just heard there was
autistic.
free food here.
I read a book. I read a book a bunch of times, guys. That doesn't make me, whatever.
Well,
Rain Man was our Messiah, I'm pretty sure.
It's interesting what you said about how this is an interesting parallel with Christianity, and you see these conflicts between both in Judaism and Christianity. The two versions of how they interpret their own religion. You see in both the Jewish, Orthodox version and Catholic Church and these other ones, this emphasis on you need a church structure and temple structure, and whether you call it one thing or another, this idea of a hierarchy of priesthood and things that you must go through to access God. Then you have in both Christianity and in Judaism, it sounds like, the kind of the spirit, I think, of what the New Testament was trying to go for, or at least what seems to be salvaged from that, is this sense of no, God's talking to you right now. That Holy Spirit is in you right now. You don't need any mortal being to be your intermediate. And maybe you never did, or maybe you don't need to anymore. But this idea of you have a direct line to God, you can talk to God, and there's almost like this anarchic energy or libertarian spirit of you are free. Love has always been the law of the land. You can
something
interpret
that supersedes our understanding and always will, no matter how much we try to make it into politics.
Yeah.
But when you look at the historical context, specifically around the period that Jesus came to the Jews, we lost our temple. We lost the temple was everything to Jews because it was a physical connection point to God himself. And without that temple, Jews felt lost. They felt they had absolutely no way to communicate and appease Yahweh and to get his blessing, and that the oppression of the Romans, the oppression of the Greeks before them, was 100% because they lost that temple. And so then you have Jesus come in. They all proclaim him to be the Messiah. They follow him as a Messiah. He's teaching them an important lesson in that you do not need the temple, you do not need the priests, you do not need the rabbis. How many times did he ask, never call me a rabbi, I'm not a rabbi. And the fact that that man's influence went on to create the most structured, multi-tiered, main, the
MLM.
Catholic Church, an MLM, is just absolutely contradictory to his actual teachings. Whereas in
Right.
Judaism, what's confusing to me in Judaism, post Jesus, post the fall of the Roman Empire, the rabbinic atmosphere that our religion gained was basically a rabbi is not a priest. A rabbi is a teacher. And what rabbis teach you is specifically how to nurture and nestle your link to God, your link to the divine spirit, to find his divine will, to become good with God, and to do as he wishes all of us to do in life, ultimately to become good enough to be brought into paradise at the end of life. That's just confusing to me. And that brings me back to my initial point of how much of Christianity has been influenced not under the purpose of helping people on a spiritual journey, so much as helping the priests and the papacy in gaining and retaining power.
Right. Yeah. No, we're on a similar page. I feel like there's a lot of spiritual truth that kind of seems to transcend what these structured religions are trying to do. And I have no doubt that when the real God does stand up, or goddess, I don't know.
We're not going to be asking
maybe-
the question. We're not going to be having
maybe-
podcast episodes debating whether or
maybe-
not he's a pussy.
Maybe,
Gender fluid.
yeah, maybe it'll be
She,
someone
sorry.
with the literal pussy who comes and shows up. I don't know.
They, them,
Regardless whether it's
I will never
wisdom
bow
or the
down
word
to
or
a woman god. I'm sorry.
or-
I can't do it.
if super
What if it's
based woman
Alanis
shows up and
Morissette?
is like,
I mean at some point that's on you. That's on you for presenting. You could have presented yourself as any type of god. You could present yourself as a big dick swinging god. I don't care. That's fine. I mean that's great. It's respectable. If you present yourself as a woman and you expect me to worship you, to bow down and respect you, come on. That's on you. That's your fault.
what about a woman who like insults all the annoying feminist women and is like, shut the fuck up. You're really annoying. You made
I
the
mean,
image
he's
of
going to
woman
do
look
that to all
so fucking
guys if he's a
annoying.
man. He's going to do that to everybody in every way. Like, guys,
Oh yeah,
you're
whoever
retarded.
shows up, whether it's Big JC or whether it's
Right.
whoever,
Or whether it's Shlomo
wisdom goddess.
Yehuda.
or Shlomo,
Just
they're
to
probably
spite
going to
Dan.
kick all of our asses. Probably,
Oh, yeah.
I would hope verbally, but maybe I don't know. Maybe there's some hellfire
Just to
spankings.
spite
I don't
Dan,
know how this is
God's
going to go
gonna
down.
send us a Messiah, and the Messiah is going to be a woman.
A trans
And
woman.
she will be, and she will have been a very big OnlyFans star.
Listen, I mean, if God's going to be worshipped, there's.
I hear there's a lot of goddesses on that website.
That's what I hear. Check out onlyfansgoddesses.com, and I'm sure you'll find. I've never been, but it sounds like
You'll meet
it's
the
definitely a
Messiah.
thing.
You'll meet the Messiah.
Listen, if there's
right.
a hell,
Or
the
you'll
three of us
scream
are
God, at
probably
least.
getting dunked in there just a little bit, like just a quick dunking, I'm sure. No, if anything, I hope that when God shows up and explains him and or herself, we're
Explains
going to
they
be
themselves.
relieved. Yeah, we're going to be relieved at how fucking cool God is. And I'm sure all of our dumb religious bullshit to try and explain it's going to be blown away, and it's going to be fine. As a flat earther now, I'm 100% convinced there's a creator. I'm like, someone made this shit. It's flat as fuck. It's all space is fake.
Yeah.
I'm like, I can't deny that we're created. It's now just the argument of who is this being? What do they want? Which of these worldly religions are even close to the truth, right? And it's just sorting that shit out now. But
So
ultimately, though, if you're a good person, I don't think if you die and you're standing before God for judgment, they are going to say that you were a great person in life, but you didn't believe that exact flavor of religion that you're supposed to. Off to hell. That's not gonna happen.
yeah.
That's never gonna happen.
that's certainly something we can agree on. Like any god that is less empathetic than I am, who as like this very dry, bitter, autistic man, like, and God is more like of an angry autistic child than we are, to where he's like, I spent most of my time, really focused on what you put in your butthole. That's what really got me. Like, yeah, you got all the theology right, but you kept putting things in your butthole. So, I know I made it feel good, but you used it wrong. So, eternal damnation for you, my friend. I never knew you.
God invented the cucumber. He invented the banana. If you didn't want that shit up the butthole,
yeah, the prostate is there. Listen,
Should have made so many natural dildos.
Maybe God is a jealous God and wants us to save our virgin buttholes for her. Maybe that's what.
Well, what's she gonna do with it? I mean,
I did have a rabbi who referred to the prostate as Satan's button. So
that seems like as good a place as any to wrap a spiritual conversation.
We're told to be, aren't we as men? We're asked to be the bride of Christ or God or whatever. So I don't know how else one can be that unless
yes. So we can
God
continue
seems...
this in the after party, but we are not going to cover quite a few of the articles that I had for this, so we can carry them over. But final questions, Anthony, as a Jew, do you believe that the Goyim are lesser than you?
Yes.
What's that?
Yes, absolutely.
Would you like to explain?
You are absolute trash. I'm going to have you canceled.
Cattle even, some might say?
Yep. Your bank accounts are going to be frozen after this conversation. I am going to make some phone calls. Goyim.
Oh man, you should have stuck with it. I would have been checking my bank in the in between just to make sure that you're not. I don't know. I don't know what you guys are capable of.
If Goyim were trash, we wouldn't have conversion open as an option. You can convert into Judaism. We accept anyone.
You can stop being trash.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, unlike Nick Cannon, simple. You can choose to be part of ours. Like, I guess you can choose to tan more
the
or.
See, the yarmulke is representative of a trash can lid, so you put it on and then boom, you're not.
Sounds very anti-Semitic. Like the most anti-Semitic thing that's been said so far.
Wait till you see what I say in the after party. No.
Jack, any final thoughts?
Subscribe now. Yeah. So pay now for the after party.
No, do you guys have any final thoughts on
anti-Semitic the Jew?
Paywall start right here.
So on this guy in particular, obviously none of us trust him, but Jack, you lean more towards like the Christian side in some ways. The Christian belief is that anybody who comes and says they're Messiah has potential to be the Antichrist. Do you think that this guy is of that stature, or is this just another? I learned today that there's been like 25 Jewish Messiahs over the last several hundred years. So what do I know? But what do you think?
I know you were asking earlier, like, well, what would prove it, right? Would it be they do miracles, and would they levitate off the ground? Like, what's going to be their reveal of that there's something higher powered? And I often, again, as someone who wrote about some of these ideas, I think there's a reason they hide certain technology from us. And when you deep dive some conspiracy stuff, you realize things like levitation and other technologies are actually very real and very available to some of these peoples. And I wouldn't put it past them to use advanced technology to create the illusion of supernatural ability as part of their, fakery of this, chosen one. So be aware of that too, that you might see some shit that looks really cool and have to question everything.
I mean, I barely trust what's coming out of Ukraine, let alone what's coming out of Israel about their Messiah. So
yeah. I have a feeling,
and they run Hollywood, so they got all the effects artists at their disposal.
Right. Yeah, I'm sure when the real
Like
God
that,
shows
you're
up, we're gonna
right,
fucking know.
that's
It's gonna be bigger and better than anything they can even come up with and scare us with. So,
Jack, please stop interrupting the Jew. Please go ahead,
just
sir.
my German ancestry is kicking in.
I got German ancestry too. So
Oh,
I'm
man.
always trying.
So you're
I'm
an
always
internalized
stuffing
Nazi.
Sorry, Germans. It's
It's
okay.
dangerous when I cook. Let's just leave it at that.
Jesus.
I'll make questionable decisions.